Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of my podcast, Soul Talk and Psychic Advice. Today, we're talking about a pattern that is incredibly common amongst healers, coaches, therapists, psychics, empaths, grief workers, spiritual teachers, and anyone who has transformed pain into service. We're talking about the wounded healer. Because, yes, a lot of us who are doing the work that we do now in healing professions, it comes from a place of wounds, and we've transformed that wound, that pain, into service. So, the wounded healer is often someone who has walked through deep pain. They have experienced loss, heartbreak, abandonment, trauma, betrayal, grief, rejection, emotional neglect, spiritual crisis, the dark night of the soul, which I did a podcast on. You can search through my podcast and find it. Going through a divorce. A lot of people who are divorce coaches is because they went through one. A lot of people who are grief coaches is because they went through serious, deep grief. People who work with abandoned kids because they were abandoned. A lot of times we take on the work that we had to heal from. And because all these things have caused us to live through these experiences, we often develop a profound desire to help others navigate similar struggles. In many ways, this is beautiful. It's always beautiful to want to serve. But some of the most compassionate people in the world are wounded healers. They understand suffering. They understand survival because they have suffered and they've gone through survival, me included. They understand what it feels like to sit in darkness and wonder if things will ever get better. But there's another side of the wounded healer archetype that doesn't get talked about enough. Sometimes while helping others heal, we may unknowingly continue reenacting our own wounds. And I think this is what forced my therapy, because I seen this around some peers. And a lot of times we just ignore ourselves and we help others. And it's like, well, there's no hope for me. So I just go help other people live better lives. And the bottom line is that everyone matters, and the wounded healer matters also. And so this is what today's topic is about. It's also understanding the wounded healer, but healing the wounded healer. Sometimes we seek relationships that mirror our own pain. A lot of times people go, why do I keep on attracting this same type of person? There's a reason for it. And if you keep on getting with the wrong type of person, there's something to heal, something to clear up. It's not about judgment. It's just heal it so that you can level up and get your ideal partner. Because we attract at the level of our healing. There's no way around it. It can't be disputed. I didn't write the law. I just know that it exists after 24 years of working with thousands of people and living my own life. It is what it is. But the more we heal, the better we can attract, the better we can manifest. So healing should always be something to seek out. It's not about something's wrong with me. It's really weird that we lived in a society for so long where people didn't want to talk about therapy because they took it as, well, something's wrong with me if I have to go to therapy. No, it's you've been through something. And you need to heal that something so that it doesn't affect the rest of your life. We live in such a black and white society with right and wrong, and that everybody should look okay. And I used to have to tell people, if you had a brain tumor or a brain aneurysm, would you try to think your way out of it? No, you run to the doctor. So why not do that with mental health? That's in your head too. Why are we trying to control mental health when we wouldn't try to control a brain tumor or an aneurysm. We wouldn't think our way trying to get healthier. There's common sense to go to the doctor, so there should be that same understanding, is that when you're struggling emotionally, you seek professional help. But a lot of people in the spiritual community do not do it. That's why I'm so big on my work, embodiment and healing, because I witness it. I've seen it plenty with my peers, and we will project that onto our clients unknowingly. We try not to, but we will. So, we will seek relationships that mirror old pain. Sometimes we become fixated on healing others because it feels safer than fully addressing ourselves. Yes, we avoid ourselves and just go save the world. That's what's going on. Sometimes our deepest gifts and our deepest wounds become intertwined. Today's episode is about understanding the wounded healer, recognizing its gifts and challenges, and learning how to serve others without becoming trapped in unresolved pain. Everybody deserves to heal and be happy. What is a wounded healer? The wounded healer is someone whose desire to help others emerges from their own healing journey. Their pain becomes their purpose. Their struggle becomes their wisdom. Their wounds become the foundation of empathy, compassion, and understanding. They often say, I know what you're going through. I've been there. Very common for them to say that. I understand. And they truly do, because they lived it. And the wounded healer isn't helping from theory. They're helping from experience. They've walked through grief, navigated trauma, survived heartbreak, faced fear, faced betrayal, had life and death experiences, been sexually assaulted, been through some things that are very tough. And because of that, they often possess a depth of compassion that cannot be taught. It can only be earned through experience. And compassion is a beautiful thing, but self-compassion matters also. And that's something that wounded healers forget, to have self-compassion. They just kind of put themselves to the side and push ahead. And probably because the pain is still very deep. But if you're going to help other people through their pain and face their pain, you got to face your own. The gift of the wounded healer. Let's begin by honoring the gift. Wounded healers often become extraordinary guides. Why? Because they understand pain from the inside. They know what it feels like to lose hope. They know what it feels like to feel broken. They know what it feels like to question everything. And as a result, they often hold space beautifully. They listen deeply. They validate experiences. They create safety. They offer wisdom that comes from lived experience. Many of the most impactful healers, teachers, spiritual leaders have walked through tremendous diversity. Their wounds didn't disqualify them. Their wounds became part of their medicine. Where the wounded healer archetype begins. The wounded healer often develops after significant life experiences. Perhaps you experienced childhood trauma, the loss of a loved one, abandonment, divorce, grief, addiction in the family, emotional neglect, a spiritual awakening, a health crisis, and profound heartbreak. After surviving something painful, many people feel called to help others. It's a natural response to want to help others after going through something tough. It's like, I found my calling, I found my purpose, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn that pain into purpose. The mind is seeking meaning. The soul seeks purpose. We're always seeking, what is our purpose? What is our purpose? Helping others can transform pain into service. And that can be incredibly healing, but only if we remain conscious of our own healing journey. When helping becomes a way of avoiding yourself. This happens a lot. And a lot of people will say, I'm over that. I moved on. That's no longer an issue. And a lot of times they just buried it. They didn't really move on. They buried it. And this is where the wounded healer can become stuck. Sometimes helping others feels safer than healing ourselves. And you'll see a lot of this in the spiritual community, even to this day. It's easier to focus on someone else's pain than our own. That's why people are fixers, right? And, they're trying to fix other people and rescue other people because it's easier than looking at themselves. It's easier to guide someone else's healing than sit with our own unresolved grief. It's easier to teach boundaries and set them. But no, you got to do the work within yourself so people can see it in action. But a lot of people are teaching without doing the work, sadly. It's easier to help others trust themselves than confront our own fears. And I always tell people I do the work daily. I think we do the work for the rest of our lives. I mean, we have to let go of needing to be perfectly healed or aligned or enlightened and just know the work is constant. It just is, and that's okay. It gets easier. It gets less painful, as you continue to do the work. It's easier to help others, always. Many wounded healers become experts in healing modalities while quietly carrying unresolved wounds. Yes, and they will master all these techniques. Some of the most skilled masters of techniques out there are wounded and they haven't done their work yet, but they are excellent. I remember when I was learning best it was a great technique that really helped me. It's bioenergetic synchronization technique, but sadly, some of the best practitioners weren't dealing with their own stuff. And they were trying to bury it and they were becoming angry. That's how I learned to start observing, wounded people and healing was when I started going to this technique and it was just wonderful. It was a branch up from a chiropractor. I learned best. But there's a lot of people who go to these trainings and you could tell some have really sat with the work and done it. And you could tell the ones who were masking, but they were excellent. Yes, you can do excellent work on a client if you're intentional and you've got skills, but you got to take care of yourself because the universe will just start screaming at you to heal. It will find ways to force you to heal. So that's when I started learning, whoa, a lot of people will help others, but they're running from who they are. And the pain is deep, right? Who wants to sit there and feel it? But you got to feel it to heal it. Yes. So these healers, they become highly skilled at holding space for others while avoiding parts of themselves. And I might be talking to some people now, don't run from you. It's not hypocrisy, it's humanity. And so it's not like judging someone, but it's saying don't forget yourself and your own healing. You deserve to heal too. Yes, it's painful. Some people have been through just unimaginable stuff, but you have to heal it so it doesn't destroy you. And awareness, this is about awareness. It's not about hypocrisy. Because we cannot heal through helping alone. At some point, we must turn inward. You have to. And there are some days that it will shake you and you will cry and you'll freak out like I went through that and it hurt. But you gotta do the work. Repeating old wounds through relationships. This is how most people will end up healing, especially like people who go from relationship to relationship. This is how they heal. And a lot of people will be forced to a relationship if they don't do it on their own. One of the most important aspects of today's discussion is understanding how wounded healers may unconsciously recreate old pain. And this is why we want to heal so that we don't have crappy relationships. The nervous system is drawn towards what feels familiar, not necessarily what feels healthy. If abandonment was familiar, you may find yourself attracted to unavailable partners. You may be attracting those avoidants, right? If caretaking was familiar, you may become a rescuer of your partner, and a lot of people do. If rejection was familiar, you may repeatedly seek validation from people who cannot provide it. If emotional inconsistency was familiar, you may find yourself in relationships that feel unsafe. The mind often hopes maybe this time it will end differently. So we replay the wound, not because we're broken, but because part of us is seeking resolution. Unfortunately, unresolved wounds often recreate themselves until they are consciously addressed. That's what happens. You just keep on dating the same person. I always tell the story of when I was around 17, I had a neighbor who, she always had a different boyfriend. And I would say, well, what happened to so-and-so? And she's like, he drank too much. I had to get rid of him. Get with another one. Well, what happened to that guy? He drank too. And so she kept on dating the same type of guy. And I didn't understand why, but it's like, whoa, you're dating the same type of guy with a different name. You might as well stay with the first one. I didn't understand at the time what was going on. I was 17 and I wasn't into all this stuff. But yes, we will keep on dating the same type of person until we do the work. And it's not because we're bad. And this is why when people go, I want to manifest a healthy partner, you have to do the inner work to manifest a healthy partner. And it becomes easier to get a healthy partner. Because if you don't do the work and you go, I just want someone to love me, but if you have wounds there, they're just going to take over because we are forced to do our work one way or another. The difference between healing a wound and repeating a wound. This distinction is incredibly important. Healing a wound means becoming aware of it, learning from it, processing it, growing through it. Repeating a wound means unconsciously repeating the same experience. For example, healing abandonment may involve learning self-trust and healthy boundaries. Repeating abandonment may involve continually choosing unavailable partners. Healing people-pleasing may involve expressing needs. Repeating people-pleasing may involve continually sacrificing yourself. Healing overgiving may involve learning reciprocity. Repeating overgiving may involve continuing to pour into people who cannot pour back. The key difference is awareness, and this won't only show up in your romantic relationships. It'll show up with family members. It'll show up with friendships. It will show up. My people-pleasing overgiving showed up until I did the work. Now I attract friends who are givers like me, and we don't overgive to each other, but we give to each other naturally without expecting anything. And it's a beautiful thing to be a giver and to be around people who give back naturally. The wounded healer and identity. Many wounded healers eventually face an important question. Who am I beyond my wounds? Because many years of helping others heal similar struggles, the wound can become part of your identity. You become the grief expert, the trauma survivor, the relationship coach, the abandonment survivor. the spiritual teacher, the healer. And while those identities may be meaningful, healing eventually asks us to move beyond them. You're more than your wounds. You're more than your story. You're more than what happened to you. At some point, the wound becomes integrated and your identity expands. The wounded healer in the nervous system. As a somatic practitioner, I want to emphasize that many wounded healers are still carrying nervous system patterns from their past. We do. Even after significant healing, even after years of growth, even after helping thousands of people, triggers can still arise, and they will. Old fears can still activate. Old attachment wounds can still surface. This doesn't mean healing failed. It means you're human. Healing is not the absence of triggers. Healing is changing your relationship to them. The nervous system learns through repetition, compassion, awareness, safety, and time. The wounded healer in spiritual communities. This is a big one. This archetype is especially common in spiritual spaces. That's why if you go to a spiritual community or spiritual event, you may get weirded out a little bit because you can feel that energy thirsting for healing, thirsting for, like, okay, if I turn my pain into purpose, it will naturally heal me. You know how they say the saying, we work on ourselves to work on our clients, we work on our clients to work on ourselves? That's what we're doing. But often in the spiritual community, they don't know that yet. That you have to work on yourself to work on clients and with clients. A lot of therapists, you'd be surprised, need to be in therapy. Yes, many people enter spirituality through suffering. Yes, a loss, a breakup, a crisis, an awakening, a dark night of the soul. Pain often becomes a doorway. The challenge is that some people become attached to their suffering because it's connected to their purpose. Yes, you see how I talk about mine? They fear, if I fully heal, who will I be? You'll be even better at your work. If I let go of this wound, will I lose my gift? No. The answer is no. Healing does not diminish your gift. It refines it. It strengthens it. It allows you to serve from wholeness instead of survival. And then you can freely talk about it. Signs you may be operating from the wounded healer archetype. You may relate to this pattern if you feel called to help people with struggles you've experienced. You attract clients, friends, or partners with similar wounds. Yes. You find yourself repeating familiar relationship patterns. You focus heavily on helping others heal. You struggle to prioritize your own healing. You feel responsible for other people's growth. You identify strongly with your past pain. If these resonate, you are not alone. You're not alone. I talk about all my stuff all the time. I do. Okay, the archetype. This archetype is incredibly common. So let's talk about how the wounded healer heals. The wounded healer journey is not one about eliminating wounds because you can't. It's about transforming your relationship with them. That's why when people go, oh, why are you a grief coach? You can't heal grief. You could transform your relationship with it. It's not about making grief go away. We have to stop with this. We got to make it all go away. You don't make anything go away. You help people to navigate it, to have a different relationship with it. And yourself. Also, you help yourself. So, how the wounded healer journey is not about eliminating wounds, it's about transforming your relationship. So, number one, continue your own healing, no matter how much wisdom you have. Wisdom does not stop you from needing to heal. Your healing matters too. Stay committed to your growth. Do the work regularly. It's okay. Do the work regularly. Notice repeating patterns. Ask yourself, where am I recreating familiar pain? Where am I choosing what feels familiar instead of healthy? 3, separate purpose from pain. Your purpose is bigger than your wound, but your gift does not disappear when healing occurs. 4, ask yourself to receive. Overgivers, people pleasers, listen. Many wounded healers are excellent givers. Practice receiving support, receive guidance, receive care. Serve from wholeness. Okay? That's what you do. You want to serve from wholeness. It's the goal is not helping others from an open wound. The goal is helping others from a scar. A scar remembers but is no longer bleeding. This was a very important topic to me, and I know that for some people it may be uncomfortable, but because when I entered my journey of spirituality, I didn't know what I was seeking. I didn't know what I was going to find, and I was already doing some therapy because I was a teen mom and I had to go, and they sent me because my mom died, but getting into spirituality showed me so much more, and it showed me so much about healing, which also helped me when my son passed. And healing, I became an addict to healing and, therapy and coaches and counselors. And I got all these courses and trainings that I took, and, it helped. And I realized that I wanted to be free. And for anybody who's struggling, choose freedom. Freedom from the trauma, the pain, whatever you went through. And that's my, message in life is to free people, show people you can be free. And yes, awful things have happened. Why they happened, they shouldn't have happened, but you can navigate through it and you could become emotionally free from it. It still happened, but you could free yourself. And I noticed that. I noticed being online. I noticed talking to people in different helping service professions. We all need to continue to work on ourselves, especially if we want to expand in our work of service to others. So I'm going to close this out because I could talk hours about this topic. If you've recognized yourself in today's episode, I want you to know this. Your wounds are not something to be ashamed of, no. They may have shaped your path. They may have deepened your passion and your compassion. They may have awakened your gifts that you never knew you had. But your wounds are not your identity. You are not here to remain trapped in old pain. No. You are not here to endlessly repeat the same lessons. You're not here to sacrifice your healing while helping everyone else heal. Do not do that. You are here to evolve for yourself, to grow, to heal, to integrate, to transform, and then to share that wisdom with others. The most powerful healers are not those who have never experienced pain. What do I always say? Perfect people can't help people in pain. What can you do if you're perfect? You don't get it. But if you have the pain, you get it. These are the ones that the most powerful healers are the ones who walk through it consciously, who continue their healing. We are constantly a work in progress, who face their wounds honestly, and who learned how to turn suffering into wisdom without remaining stuck in suffering. Thank you for joining me today. And you can ask me any question, you can post any comments, I will read them. And until next time, be gentle with yourself, self-compassion, honor your healing journey, trust your inner wisdom, and remember, your wound may have opened the door to your purpose, but your healing is what allows you to fully step in it. You get that? And so seek healing. Learn how to sit with yourself so that you can free yourself. So again, I want to thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode.